is on budget. Right now, rent 2 days and get the third day free on compact to full-size cars at participating budget locations. Call for details. The smart money is on budget.
I put off going to the doctor. But this burning stomach kept waking me up at night. Finally, I just went. I can imagine how relieved I was when my doctor said, Mylanta. He said I had heartburn. And heartburn like mine needed a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
Now available in cherry and cool mint cream flavors.
If I were going to create the perfect place, I'd start with the north. I would carve out rivers and rolling hills, then ride the moon south and warm the skies with a tropical sun. I would dot the west with little hometowns and fill the east with excitement. Right in the middle, I'd put a great big playground. I would surround it all with water, from coast to coast to coast. And I'd give it a name, Florida.
CNN's documentary team, Special Reports, has been looking all this month at Europe on the brink of revolutionary changes in the Soviet Union, Germany, and Eastern Europe. Western Europe is also preparing for some major changes of its own. How to defend Western Europe in the wake of scaled-down armies in the East is a major question. Just last Wednesday, the leaders of France and Germany announced creation of a joint defense force as a possible alternative to NATO. In a recent survey by the Times Mirror Center for the People and the Press, only Britain and Spain expressed real support for fighting for their country, right or wrong. In the rest of Europe, especially France and Germany, a pacifist streak is evident. Most people in those countries are unwilling to fight for their country, right or wrong. In conjunction with the Times Mirror survey, CNN's Richard Roth toured Western Europe for a look behind the numbers. And he found that when it comes to defense in Europe in the 90s, expect the unexpected.
A 5 a.m. reveille for an unusual company of soldiers. But the unit itself is really a wake-up call for the future defense of Western Europe. A German officer giving orders in French? And a French lieutenant in German? What gives? What kind of about-face is this? Stand and salute the Franco-German Brigade. French soldiers, German soldiers. 50 years after their last bitter encounter on the battlefield, they train, sleep, and eat together in this experimental brigade. Andreas Ross of Germany is best friends with Pierre Chavazzo of France.
Well, it's got nothing to do with us young people. You know, the Second World War or the War of 1870-71, they've got nothing to do with us, because that's a long time ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I hit it off with everybody.
I think this is a starting point. I think it would be a very good idea to have this work together with other nationalities as well.
The camaraderie is commendable, but Western Europeans are more interested in what the Franco-German Brigade will lead to one day.
The EAC, it's a first step to a Western European army.
It's my opinion that units like this are really the future for the security in Europe.
I think this is the motivation for our military people here.
These Franco-German soldiers shoot straight now, but there were problems at the start. The kind any future pan-European force will have to overcome. Military systems, customs, and language are different, but brigade organizers can look back now and smile.
Personnellement, non, je n'avais pas eu cette idée.
Personally, I would never have thought of any such project. On the contrary, when this was portrayed to me in '87, I thought this was a thing out of utopia rather than reality. But I've come to convince myself that this is rather not only reality, but a very good and a very well-working one.
They've been training for 2 years, and commanders say they're ready to fight. There's only one problem. Who's the enemy? Since 1949, Europe has relied on NATO to defend against a Soviet-led invasion from the east, with U.S. troops the backbone. But as the political landscape changes in the east, the U.S. is sharply reducing its military presence in the west.
I must admit, the world ain't like it used to be.
Neither is this mock European town, which NATO troops guarded in annual reforger exercises. The 1991 drills reflect the decline in east-west tension. Thousands of troops and hundreds of tanks were missing.
We're trying to tighten the force down, make it a stronger, leaner and meaner force, and tighter, and so it's for the better.
But many Europeans feel a better defense would be a force that can call its own.
As the Europeans increasingly integrate on a political and economic level, the full trappings of sovereignty instinctively to most people means a defense force of some kind.
A European rapid deployment force might be first, something to match the speed of these U.S. forces, which airlifted from Germany to the Gulf War.
Really good run overall. Good fire distribution.
These tank gunners helped knock out Republican Guard units in Iraq. Leaving Europe in the hands of Europeans would not surprise them.
I think it's the wave of the future. It's the way we're going. America cannot stand alone, and it's alliances are increasingly important.
What kind of military alliance is in dispute? France and Germany have announced plans to create a force molded after the Franco-German Brigade and 10 times the size. But Britain and Italy are very reluctant to break with the past. NATO commanders are wary.
I would say NATO's hustling along to, on the one hand, adjust to the future. On the other hand, don't give up the things that you know that work real well until you've got something pretty good in the future.
Wary or not, half the American troops are headed home, among them the 501st Intelligence Battalion. A farewell to arms in the 501's hometown of Ansbach, Germany.
So you see, this day is a great deal more than just a simple farewell ceremony. It is also a celebration that says we have done our job, we have done it well, Cold War is over, and we've been victorious.
The German guests emotional at the thought of the United States leaving.
I don't know in these times which way we can defend Europe. And in my eyes, it's absolutely necessary that the Americans stay here in Europe and that they stay in Germany.
After 2.5 years in Ansbach, Sandra Silby's turning in her gear.
My unit did a lot of work, here. It's just time for us to leave here. Our job is done. We're going home.
But Shirley and husband Sergeant Tom Dover will still miss Germany.
Basically, it's time for us to go home and let Europe be what Europe needs to be in the future.
But almost 1 out of every 4 people in Ansbach is American. The pullout will hurt the town economically. Cleaning soldiers' uniforms is this store's business.
I don't think that it is a good thing, especially concerning our security. I am a bit worried.
But many Germans, including the owner of this record store, which caters to Americans, are happy to see the GIs go.
I think it's about time because a lot of things changed in Europe. So
There's no more reason for the Americans to stay here.
And even more reason for Europeans to take over their own defense. But the recreation is over. Presidents of France and Germany say the new force will be the nucleus of a larger European army. The men of the Franco-German brigade said what they really wanted was a mission. A sense of purpose. Now they may have it. Richard Roth, CNN Special Reports, Stettin, Germany.
On Tuesday, our series of special reports has a celebratory title, Europe 1992. But there are many fears about the coming single economic market in Western Europe. Europe on the Brink will take a look at the biggest worry for many Europeans, unemployment.
This special series is brought to you by Anacin. Anacin, strong, fast pain relief for today's tough stress headache.
I don't want to marry him, Mom. Just date him.
Oh.
He's not that much older, and he'll get a job.
My head.
You're gonna love his earring.
Where's my Anacin?
When you've got a splitting headache, reach for Anacin. Anacin relieves headache pain better than regular strength Bear or Bufferin.
Spike and I are glad you feel better, Mom.
Anacin, strong pain relief for splitting headaches.
Herman, you got the cellular phone, don't you?
Sure, I got it. Hello?
Lee Trevino?
No. But hold on. Mr. Trevino!
Did you find it?
I found it. Mr. Trevino! I found it.
You can find a lot of cellular phones, but only one brand gives you Motorola durability.
Lee, what's wrong? Hello?
Hello?
Ah, nothing, Bob. Someone just got hit by a caddy. So ask for Motorola, because the way we put them together sets us apart.
You see, I figured it was another tie. But when I open the box, I see this thing that looks like a baby typewriter. So I ask, what is it? She says it's a Brother P-Touch. She says it's a new electronic labeling system that makes adhesive labels in 5 sizes, 4 styles, and lots of colors. First, I label file folders, computer disks, my videotapes. You gotta help me with this problem. What problem?
Headline News, I'm Chuck Roberts. When you need news from around the world, turn to CNN Headline News at the top and bottom of every hour for complete updates. CNN Headline News, anytime, all the time.
Just ahead on World Day, we'll take a look at today's top stories and bring you the latest financial news. A little later, we'll talk with the head of an organization that works to restore world monuments.
Next time you need a hotel, think twice.
Embassy Suites.
2 big rooms, 1 big suite.
Embassy Suites.
A place to work, a place to play.
Embassy Suites.
Breakfast is free. Evening beverages too.
Embassy Suites.
Think twice. Twice the hotel. Call 1-800-EMBASSY.
If you don't get to sleep, I won't get to sleep.
Nitol safely helps you fall asleep fast so you can get your Z's. Nitol or maximum strength Nitol.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Introducing the most advanced Tegrin ever. Advanced Formula Tegrin Dandruff Shampoo. Now with 40% more itch-fighting, flake-fighting medication than ever before. Try the most advanced Tegrin ever.
Aren't you just itching to try it?
World Day continues, followed by Day Watch, next on CNN. Why has Hawkeye Bank of Des Moines opened a new branch at 22nd and Westtown Parkway in West Des Moines? And another new branch at 4045 Merle Hay Road in Des Moines? And yet another new branch in downtown Des Moines on the Skywalk? Because close counts. We now have 7 convenient Metro Des Moines locations. Hawkeye Bank of Des Moines. Now we're everywhere you are.
Father?
Yes, sister?
I have a confession.
Yes?
Remember the fax machine I bought from Divine Office Systems?
Yes?
Well, I also bought
A typewriter, a computer, a copier, and a laser printer.
All that from one company?
Yes, Father.
What was the name of this company again?
Divine Office Systems.
Wise choice.
This is CNN.
Taking a quick look at today's top stories, Israel has opened the way for a promised release of at least one U.S. hostage in Lebanon. Israel today released 15 Lebanese prisoners. It is not known which U.S. hostage may go free, but the release has been promised by the group which holds both Jesse Turner and Alan Steen. And Syria says it has been told Jesse Turner will be the one to be released. About 1,000 firefighters are battling a huge fire in Northern California. The fire started Sunday and has swept through affluent neighborhoods, consuming hundreds of acres and homes. At least 12 people are dead. About 5,000 residents have been evacuated. A new Supreme Soviet has convened in Moscow to listen to some familiar themes. The old legislative body was dissolved after the failed coup in August. Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev today called for urgent effort to preserve the Soviet Union, but the session was attended by delegates from only 7 of the 12 Soviet republics. Let's check the financial headlines now at this hour. Beverly Shook joins us from the New York Stock Exchange. Bev?
Good morning, Bobbie. Here on Wall Street, the blue chips are retreating from Friday's record close. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down almost 10 points at 3067. Trading volume is heavy. 38 million shares have changed hands so far. Decliners outpacing advancers by a 3-2 margin. The broader and secondary markets are following the Dow. All are lower. The NASDAQ index of over-the-counter stocks retreating also from Friday's record high. One market watcher doubts the stock market will be able to sustain last week's record high level.
I actually think that the massive monetary easing of the last year is going to turn the economy around. And once the data starts hitting the ticker, that the economy is getting stronger, the bond market's going to get a setback. And that setback in bonds is what I think will trigger the correction in stocks.
And bond prices are lower today. The Treasury's 30-year bellwether issue is down 17/32 in price. That puts the yield up to 7.99%. Taking a look at the stock markets overseas, a down day for stocks in London following a poll showing the Labour Party ahead of the ruling Conservatives. The Financial Times 100-share index is down more than 17 points at 2583. But a winning session for stocks in Tokyo. The Nikkei average gained about 0.5% of its value to close above the 25,000 mark for the first time in 4 months. Japan will reportedly lift economic sanctions against South Africa tomorrow. That is according to Reuters. Japan lifted its ban on tourism and cultural exchanges with Pretoria last June. And that's the latest in business news. We'll be back with another update in 1 hour. Right now, a check of the Dow shows it's down 11 points. I'm Beverly Shook reporting live from the New York Stock Exchange.
In a moment, our guest, Bonnie Burnham, will join us to talk about what's being done to protect and restore cherished monuments.
Good morning, room service.
Yes, this is Mr. Block, table 11. Waiting.
Yes, sir, your breakfast is on the way.
It should have been half an hour ago.
Sorry, sir, it'll be there any minute.
You sure?
Absolutely. What was that number again?
Call 1-800-227-WILD, Alaska. If you've got what it takes, you can make it to the top.
One athlete, many events. The energy to challenge not just one, but all limits. At Texaco, we share that energy in all that we do. The energy to create innovative products like Haviland Formula 3 motor oil. The energy to lead the way in exploration, conservation, alternate energy, the energy to go as far as we can, and then go even further.
News,
debate,
sports, weather,
advice,
the pros, the cons,
fashion,
talk, finance,
showbiz,
tantalizing cuisine.
CNN, we're the news you need and much more.
Hello, I'm Donna Kelly. Coming up at the top of the hour for our U.S. viewers, we'll go live to Oakland, California, where fires continue to consume homes and threaten lives. We'll also take a look at how the list of presidential contenders is shaping up. Now includes an actor, and very shortly, we'll include a man who has sought the Democratic nomination twice before. Stay with us. Day Watch is coming up at the top of the hour. Bobbie?
Donna, thanks. Some of the world's most treasured monuments are in jeopardy, but a New York-based organization is doing something to help stave off the ravages of nature and neglect. Joining us now in our New York bureau is the executive director of the World Monuments Fund, Bonnie Burnham. Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess perhaps one of the best ways to put this in perspective is if you consider the 7 great wonders of the world, only one of them is still standing, the pyramids. And this is exactly what's happening to other monuments around the world, isn't it?
That's right. Actually, the pyramids are under fairly serious assault today from a number of causes, both natural and having to do with tourism. And the whole of the conservation field is trying to figure out what to do about this problem. But that's just one of the many, many works around the world that are suffering from the same kind of problems and same phenomena.
Well, who is responsible for taking care of these treasures? Is it the local governments or private organizations? Who?
It's traditionally been considered the responsibility of the governments to take care of historic monuments. And in many cases, the governments actually own these buildings, and therefore it's their direct responsibility. But conservationists today are beginning to realize that there's not enough support, not enough money available from governments, especially in countries where the economies are not strong, and that the private sector has to do something to help.
We have some pictures of some of the areas that we're talking about and some of the monuments, and if we could start, I guess Venice is one of the success stories of preservation, although this appears that floods caused a great deal of water damage.
That's right. I think the dramatic nature of what happened in Venice in the flood of 1966 really brought home to people in a way that almost nothing else ever has. That the public had to be motivated to express their concern and to take action and become part of the international effort to save monuments. There was a tremendous outpouring of generosity on the part of Americans, and the World Monuments Fund, through our American constituency, restored more than 20 buildings there over a period of 20 years after the floods.
We know that nature, of course, and pollution can be a culprit, but there are other factors as well. Tourism is a big problem, isn't it?
Well, it's becoming more and more of a problem, especially in places like Venice. The real problem is that many of the historic cities of the world were not really built to accommodate the number of people that want to visit them today. This is a critical problem in Italy and throughout Europe, where people really travel almost exclusively to see these great buildings and works of art. Now, the problem is that while tourism generates a lot of money in the local economy, none of it really filters back toward the preservation of the monuments themselves. And it also puts a tremendous tax on the services in the city and makes places like Venice practically impossible to get around in, practically immobile for the people who actually live there.
Moving on to Cambodia, where your organization was the first to get in and evaluate the damage that's been done to Angkor Wat.
Yes, well, we've been working in Cambodia now for about 2 years, and it's been, I think, an extremely rewarding experience for us. The reception that we've received from the government in Cambodia has been extremely warm. There have been a number of requests for assistance that were not responded to by the governments of the world because of the unresolved political situation in Cambodia. And we began sending teams of experts in December of 1989. We're about to field our 3rd mission to Angkor and beginning to put in place a long-term training exercise to begin to pass back to the Cambodians the skills that have really been lost there for maintaining and preserving their buildings over the last 20 years of civil conflict.
The next building that we're going to look at is the Church of Saint-Trophime, I think, in France, where air pollution has done a great deal of damage. How do you combat something like that? That's sort of a losing battle, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly a losing battle, but one that one has to take a role in if one's not going to simply let the monuments be lost entirely. The interesting thing about air pollution is that we don't really know what causes the tremendous grime that seems to collect on certain edifices today. And this church in Arles, France, has been a testing ground for the World Monuments Fund and the French government in beginning to undertake to resolve some of the problems. One of the ways of taking care of this is obviously to remove the grime that may trap in it very destructive chemical pollutants. But once you take it away, then you're exposing the surface again to an environment that may not have been corrected, may not have changed. Obviously, if we're going to do anything about this problem, and if we're going to save some of the great public sculpture in the world, we have to work in concert with environmentalists. And exactly this is what we're trying to do in Arles. There's a region-wide environmental monitoring system that has now begun to study the immediate surroundings of the Church of Saint-Trophime and try to find out what's going on a 24-hour-a-day basis throughout the year.
What's going on in the United States? We, of course, are not as old a country as some of these others, but nonetheless, we have relics or monuments of our own here. Are you working in the States?
We are working in the States. Our main project here has been the Church of St. Anne's and the Holy Trinity in Brooklyn, which has some of the oldest and most important stained glass windows in America, and which have, again, been nearly lost through sheer neglect and the fact that the church was closed for almost 20 years. In the United States, we have the opposite problem from most countries of the world. We're often fighting bureaucracy when we become involved in campaigns to preserve historic buildings. In the United States, when the government acknowledges the importance of a building by declaring it a landmark, they don't come in and do anything in order to say that there's no financial support implicit in the landmarking process. And it's completely possible, even though buildings are identified as national landmarks, for them to be lost or for them to be torn down. We didn't reach that extreme in the case of the Church of St. Anne's, but an enormous amount of money was needed in order to bring this edifice back to a state of optimal conservation. The way that we've gone about working on it has been to establish in-house training workshops, because we've also perceived that the crafts by which these buildings were made in the 19th century are also disappearing. And it's often difficult to get qualified workmen even to carry out projects when the funding is in place. In the case of St. Anne's, we have an in-house glass conservation workshop with a very well-known, nationally known master training younger people in the field and passing on his knowledge. And in the case of the exterior of the edifice, a similar program is going on to preserve the brownstone.
Well, that's good news indeed, because the loss of these craftsmen and these buildings would be a huge loss to world culture. And we thank you very much for joining us this morning. Bonnie Burnham of the World Monuments Fund. Thanks again. Still to come on World Day, there is no power shortage in baseball's World Series. Mark McKay will be along with sports in just a minute.
Pleasant trip, Mr. Conklin. Your room's ready. Full kitchen. Comfy living room with fireplace. It's heaven. We think so. After all, you'll be staying with us for quite a while.
Tell me, do all business travelers come here?
Oh, no. I'm afraid some are sent to other hotel rooms.
Residence Inn by Marriott, the extended stay hotel.
Ever wonder why Bay's English muffins taste so good? Here's why. Spring wheat flour and whole milk from Minnesota. Sugar from Hawaii. Butter from Wisconsin. Potato flour from Idaho. Bay's flavor is locked in by the finest packaging available. Bay's English muffins. In your grocer's dairy case. Bay's.
How many men you got lined up?
None yet.
Well, you better get going, man.
Just a reminder, when you think duplication, think meter copiers.
I understand how much money we'll make, but what's the downside?
Today's business is a high-stakes game.
Get me Land on the phone. Hello.
CNN Business News gives you the edge.
Breakup value. Great.
Mr. Land's holding on what?
Coming to buy at 17 1/4, top off at 18, and to call me.
With live reports from Wall Street every hour of every trading
I
day.
know. I'm watching it on CNN right now.
Up-to-the-minute financial news.
Sure this information is accurate.
It was this morning.
That's not what CNN just said.
The best business news in the business is on CNN.
Well, we're looking at both North and South America there. We're never quite sure where Valerie's going to start her world weather tour, but it looks like it might be one of those two continents. Val?
In fact, we're going to start a little farther south than that satellite view, Bobbie. Pretty quiet across Central America at this time. But we are, of course, going to check out the South American continent where we are approaching summertime as opposed to approaching wintertime in the northern part of the world. Conditions for 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, we do see some fog right along the Pacific coast and a large area of showers and thunderstorms stretching across much of western Brazil and extending on up into Venezuela. A couple of tropical waves moving through the Caribbean region, probably the most closest to the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, will not reach that area for the next day or two. A frontal system stretched across Chile, Argentina to the south, producing a few rain showers, but high pressure off the coast of Uruguay and generally fair weather being reported Buenos Aires, Montevideo on up to Rio de Janeiro. We move on in our tour then to the Pacific continent, and we are watching what is now Tropical Storm Ruth southwest of Guam and moving westward about 8 knots. Ruth is supporting winds of 45 knots, but forecast to intensify to typhoon status within the next 24 hours or so. One frontal system has moved through Japan, although there are some lingering showers at Sapporo and Hakodate, another trough of low pressure approaching the islands of Japan, where it has been rainy the last couple of months. We could just make out a trough of low pressure across northwestern China, where at Harbin there has been a little light snow reported. And if we look down under, you see a frontal system in southeastern Australia. At Sydney, breezing conditions have been reported, and there's also been some occasional light rain about. Conditions for 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and our next stop on the tour is the African continent, where we see tropical showers once again stretching all the way from Liberia over to Tanzania. A little bit of a frontal system moving across northern Africa, and at Khartoum they have been reporting some blowing sand. At Benghazi in Libya, there has also been reports of a sandstorm in progress. Conditions 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and our final stop in the tour, the European continent. Still unsettled weather across Europe with snow showers up through Scandinavia, a frontal system stretching through northern parts of Europe producing some scattered rain showers, although at Munich a little earlier a mix of rain and snow reported. Very windy conditions around Rome and Florence. In Naples, some heavy rains have fallen, about 3 inches. That's just about 80 millimeters in the last several hours. Conditions are for 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and our forecasts are for some specific European cities for Tuesday. We hope you have a great day, whatever your weather and wherever you are. World Day continues now with Bobbie Battista.
All right, Val, thanks. Well, the Minnesota Twins are up by 2, but it could be a different ball game entirely when the World Series moves back to Atlanta. Here's Mark McKay.
That's right, Bobbie. Monday is considered a travel day for the two teams battling for Major League Baseball's top prize. The 88th World Series has a decided Minnesota flavor to it at the moment after the first couple games. Atlanta's bats, for the most part, have been silence, while the Twins brought out the heavy lumber at the Metrodome. 2 homers in Game 1, 2 more in Game 2, and you can probably contribute this to the noise factor at the Metrodome as Mark Lemke and David Justice got tied up in the first. That put a man on for Chili Davis. Chili was red hot with that screaming homer to left field. A 2-run shot gave the Twins a 2-0 lead. Atlanta cut it in half. They had a runner on third. Top of the third inning, controversy set in. Ron Gant trying to get back to first base. Looks as if Ket Herbeck uses his 80-pound weight advantage to pull him off. At least that's the way Gant thought it turned out. The umpire begged to differ, but the Braves were able to rebound and tie it until Scott Leyes stepped up in the bottom of the 8th inning led off the inning with the first pitch going over the plexiglass, just barely. The solo shot gave the Twins the 3-2 lead. They now lead the best-of-7 series, 2-0. Game 3, Tuesday in Atlanta. NHL. Edmonton against New York. Mark Messier meeting his former mates. Brian Leetch gets the break started. Pierre Jouche feeds to Mark Messier, who beats Bill Ranford. It's a 1-all tie. Messier, the captain, has a point in every game he's played with the Rangers so far. Third period, New York leads by 1 until Joe Murphy knocks down the puck out of the air and deflects it past John Van Beesbrook. It's tied at 3. Roger Nielsen doesn't like it, and he wouldn't like this anymore. 43 seconds later, loose puck off the boards. Joe Murphy slides it across the crease to a wide-open Craig Simpson. 4-3 Edmonton. That's the way it would end. Here are all the scores from Sunday. Wins. New Zealand and Australia set up an unexpected collision in the Rugby World Cup semi-final round. The two will meet in Dublin, Ireland this Sunday, the day after Scotland meets England at Murrayfield in Edinburgh. Both teams scored impressive quarterfinal wins. More on America's Fall Classic when sports returns to CNN in about a half hour or so. World Day continues after a break.
From any angle, it feels as refreshing as it looks. A new shower massage from Teledyne Waterpick.
Old MacDonald had a mule. He lived in Ohio, and on his mule he hauled supplies where he had to go. Well, he hauled things here and he hauled things there. Here he hauled, there he hauled, everywhere he hauled. Old MacDonald had a mule. It didn't cost much though.
The hard-working Mule 500 from Kawasaki carries everything but a big price tag. Affordably priced at $39.99.
Old MacDonald had a mule, and boy did that thing go.
These people never thought of themselves as high-pressure salespeople. They've always been committed to service. That's why they've become successful Better Homes and Gardens real estate agents, and why they use our proven real estate marketing systems to serve their customers better than anybody. After all, we've found that once you place service above everything, everything else falls into place. For information about a career in real estate, call 1-800-ADVANCE or your local Better Homes and Gardens real estate firm.
The fighting in Croatia rages on despite a tense ceasefire. According to Zagreb Radio, the Yugoslav Federal Army supporting Serbian troops escalated its air, ground, and sea operations against Croatian forces. A relief convoy was able to bring scores of badly wounded people out of Vukovar Sunday. It is one of the hardest hit areas in Croatia. Election results indicate a coalition government may be in Turkey's future, threatening President Turgut Özal's hold on power. Veteran politician Süleyman Demirel will likely serve as prime minister. His conservative Troop Half Party captured the most seats in parliamentary elections. President Özal's Motherland Party finished second in Sunday's voting and is expected to form a coalition government with the opposition. And finally, up, up, and away. 2 hot air balloons drift into the history books. According to radio monitors, the balloons piloted by 3 Britons and an Australian flew over Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Last year, a Japanese group made a similar attempt, but had to abort the flight after a change in winds. Tuesday on World Day, will the Soviet Union keep up in space and science? We will ask that question with Mikhail Gorbachev's chief science advisor. Later today, CNN's International Hour will keep you updated on word that one Western hostage may soon be released in Lebanon. That's World Day. I'm Bobbie Battista at CNN Center in Atlanta. Here's Donna Kelly now with a look at what's coming up on Day Watch.
Bobbie, thanks. Up next on Day Watch, we will have a live report for you from Northern California, where wildfires have raced through residential neighborhoods in Oakland and Berkeley. Stay with us. Day Watch is next.
Coming up, Day Watch, followed by Cryer and Company, here on CNN.
Do you realize just how much difference there is in life insurance rates from one insurance company to the next? For instance, if you're in good health and don't smoke cigarettes, Garden State Life Insurance may be able to save you as much as 50% off the cost of your life insurance. That's right. 30, 40, 50% off what you'd have to pay for a comparable amount of coverage elsewhere. And not just this month, but year after year for the rest of your life. Savings like that are well worth looking into. So if you need $100,000 to $1 million or more of quality term life insurance, you owe it to yourself to get the facts fast by calling now, 800-257-1257, toll free for this free information package, including a personal coverage proposal that shows you just how much your savings might be. There's no obligation, no sales pressure, and it could be a real eye-opener. For instance, as your Garden State Life representative can tell you,
if you're a healthy 40-year-old who doesn't smoke cigarettes, you may qualify for $100,000 worth of quality term life insurance at rates so low they're less than 55 cents a day.
How do we do it? First, you save because we offer this life insurance at these low rates only to people who are in good health. That cuts our risk and your premiums. Then, because this quality term life insurance is sold in amounts of at least $100,000 or more, you get the advantage of volume discounts. And it's easy to do business with Garden State Life Insurance because you deal with us directly. You're always just a phone call away. So call today, 800-257-1257, toll free, 257-1257 for your free personal coverage proposal. No obligation, no pressure. Discover how this quality term life insurance could save you as much as 50% off your premiums every year for the rest of your life. 800-257-1257, toll free. Call Garden State Life Insurance for your free information today, 257-1257.